Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're dealing with shoulder pain, whether it's from training overuse or an injury, this video is for you. We're not just going to throw a bunch of exercises at you. We'll go over what to do, what to avoid, how to train around pain safely, and how to come back even stronger. But first, don't panic. Don't rush into expensive treatments or waste weeks doing nothing. Most shoulder issues get better with time, but the right approach can help you keep training, avoid aggravating your symptoms, and actually make your shoulder more resilient in the future. And that's exactly what this video is about. And just a quick reminder, this video isn't medical advice. If your pain is severe, getting worse, or just not improving, make sure to check in with a qualified health professional. Let's get into it. First of all, pain is extremely complex. It's not always about tissue damage. It's not always about one clear cause. And honestly, the cause doesn't always matter that much because the principles for most cases are actually the same. Find your current capacity level and slowly build up from there. Avoiding all movement or catastrophizing the pain can actually make things worse. That fear of moving, that feeling of being fragile can feed into a cycle where the pain becomes more persistent. Movement is a crucial part of the recovery. The first step is to assess. Try some basic shoulder movements. Overhead pressing or pulling, external rotation, internal rotation, horizontal pressing or pulling. And now ask yourself, where does the discomfort show up? Is it at a specific angle, only at end range, only under load, only from a specific load? And just as important, what feels okay? What movements are pain-free or just mildly uncomfortable? Those movements are your go-tos. And that's how you keep training around the pain. Map your shoulder pain, trying to get specific and reassess regularly. This helps you see if you're improving or if you're doing too much. So once you've mapped your pain, the goal is not to avoid movement completely or to avoid pain at all costs. Your shoulder is simply irritated, and like anything irritated, it needs a little care. Usually, when the shoulder is irritated, its normal capacity is temporarily lowered. So the things you could do before without pain might now be too much and start provoking discomfort. The first things to look at are speed and load. These are usually the biggest contributor to overload. Fast movements like snatch or kipping pull-up are often the first to trigger pain because speed puts a sudden sharp demand on the system. It spikes the stress quickly. And in case of kipping, for example, you're also dealing with momentum. It becomes harder to control how far you push your irritated shoulder. You might move into ranges that your system simply isn't ready for yet. So if kipping hurts, switch to slower, more controlled options like strict pull-ups, bended pull-ups, or even ring rows if hanging is already painful. Same idea with the snatch. It's a high demand movement requiring speed, stability, and rotation under load. If it hurts, you can take a break from snatching altogether or break down the movement. Do, for example, the parts that don't provoke pain. It could be snatch pulls, high pulls, also overhead squats in some cases, muscle snatch, or even just overhead holds with a light bar. In some cases, just reducing the load is enough to give the shoulder the pause it needs. But in other cases, it's smarter to temporarily avoid specific movements until you rebuild enough capacity. So here's how you could adjust when movements are painful. Lower the speed. If fast overhead press provokes pain, try tempo work or slow eccentrics, like taking 5 seconds to lower the bar, for example. You can apply the same to push-ups or ring rows. Working with tempo is a great way to spot where in the movement the pain shows up and where it doesn't. It's a great assessment tool as well. Second thing, reduce the load. Use lighter weight that feels completely manageable. If you normally press 40 kilo but it doesn't feel good, maybe try 30 or even just the empty bar. Enough to move through pattern without provoking too much pain. Same with push-ups or pull-ups. You can reduce the load by using bends, for example. You can also change the angle. If vertical pressing feels bad, for example, try an incline or even horizontal bench press instead. Trying to find an angle that doesn't provoke too much pain, and over time you can slowly reintroduce the vertical press by adjusting the angle. And the same goes for pulling. If vertical pulls feel bad, Try inverted rows or even barbell bend over rows, for example. And if hanging from the bar isn't possible, you can modify the hang. Hang at an angle with reduced load, and over time gradually reintroduce a more vertical hang with less and less assistance. Your goal in this early phase is to calm the fire. But remember, movement is medicine. Once the pain starts fading, it's tempting to jump right back into your regular training. But performance comes after foundations. This stage is about rebuilding tolerance, restoring full range of motion, and developing control and coordination. You want to create a shoulder that's not just pain-free, but strong, stable, and reliable. The idea is simple. As long as the pain is fading and strength is going up, you're on the right track. Once things feel better there, it's time to start gently challenging your shoulder again. Take the kip, for example. Instead of sticking only to strict pull-ups, try adding a small controlled kip. Just a little momentum. Enough to test how your shoulder responds to dynamic movement and that extra stress. If it feels off, no worries. Go back to strict work, keep building your base, and try again in a week or two. Mobility matters too. Some shoulder injuries come from limited range, overhead or rotational. When your overhead mobility is limited, other areas have to compensate, which creates more stress in certain places and over time can lead to overuse and injuries. And some shoulder injuries come with reduced range. The injury itself can cause a limitation in range because of irritated tissues. Either way, working on mobility is a great idea. Either to avoid the same overuse injury from happening again, or to re-establish the mobility lost from the injury. I made a whole video about overhead mobility with drills and progressions. If you feel stuck overhead, check the link in the description. So to recap this phase, strict strength first, monitor how pain changes, progress slowly to dynamic work, and mobility work along the way if needed. Remember, the goal isn't just to get back to where you were, it's to come back even stronger, more stable, more resilient, harder to endure next time. Once basic strength and control are back, it's time to go further. The shoulder is a highly mobile joint, which means it needs strengthening in a wide range of positions. That's where variety, coordination, and targeted stability work come in. A great way to do this is to make sure your shoulder is strong in all directions, not just in the usual pressing and pulling patterns. Think of this phase as reinforcing the entire shoulder system. The rotator cuff muscles play a huge role here. They help stabilize the shoulder joint and are deeply involved in movements like overhead presses, snatches, cleans, and gymnastic movements. Strengthening them is key to building resilience. And here are some smart tools to bring in. Rotator cuff focus work, usually done with a band but can be progressed to dumbbells. Isometric holds such as wall-supported or freestanding handstands or headstands, bottoms up kettlebell holds, single arm kettlebell carries. This helps build static strength and joint tolerance under load. Turkish get-ups, a full body movement that challenges shoulder stability through multiple angles and transitions. Side presses or windmills, great option for exposing your shoulder to a wider range of positions. Rings, which challenge stability in multiple planes. Dumbbells or kettlebells to force each side to work independently. You're not just getting back to your previous level. You're building a shoulder that can handle more angles, more load, more variety, and do it safely. So once you've rebuilt strength, coordination, and variety, it's time to start reintroducing the movements that used to be painful. And this is a delicate phase. The key is not to rush. It's tempting to jump straight back into your old workouts, but what your shoulder needs is patience and consistency. Start with light loads, low volume, and controlled frequency. 1 or 2 sessions a week is enough to begin with. For example, if kipping pull-ups or barbell cycling used to trigger pain, you can now test them again. But don't max out on your first day back. Start at a very low percentage of your previous weight or volume and see how your shoulder responds. How does it feel during the session? How does it feel later that day? And especially, how does it feel the next morning? That next day feeling is one of your best indicators. A little fatigue or tightness can be normal. But sharp pain, that's a sign to scale back and give it more time. Think long term. A good goal is to take 8 to 12 weeks to rebuild to 80% or more of your old max, starting from a baseline where your shoulder feels pain-free. or nearly pain-free. You can still keep some of your strict and isometric work in your training to maintain joint stability while reintroducing speed. Remember, speed means high stress and a higher risk of losing control and ending up in a compromised position. So this might be the most important part. Pain changes your behavior. You start protecting the area too much. You avoid things. You feel fragile. That fear of doing more damage, it can lead to less movement, which can lead to more pain and sensitivity. But here's the truth. You're not fragile. You're healing. You just need time and the right progression. And I say this from experience. I've had multiple shoulder issues. I used to wake up at night in pain. Even putting on a jacket hurt. I remember thinking, will I ever train normally again? Will this ever go away? One injury lasted almost a year. I couldn't snatch or do dips the whole time. But I never stopped training. I shifted my focus. One injury even led me to learn handstands because it was the only thing I could do pain-free. I worked on mobility, I built strength in areas I used to ignore, and every single one of these injuries, they passed. And here's the real truth. The real thing that heals your injury is time. And during that time, you can do a lot on your own. You can manage your pain. You can stay active. You can keep training, just in a way that respects the healing process. Now, if you don't have a plan and you're completely lost, then yes, of course, going to a physiotherapist can really help. Not to speed up healing, but to help you understand how to manage load, intensity, and frequency. Even 1 or 2 good sessions can make a big difference. But try this first. Give it a real chance. And if you're still stuck, then get help. Stay active and trust the process. That's it for today's video, you guys. I hope this helps shift your mindset about shoulder pain and injury. And if you find this helpful, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Bye.